This conference will now be recorded.
And it will be posted a little later this afternoon on the Chamber's website. We also want to let you know that the media has been invited to participate on this call, and we want to welcome Donna from KTRE as a part of the program. And I suspect our friends Josh and Nicole from the Daily Sentinel have joined us as well. I'd respectfully ask that everybody put their phones and computers on mute until we're ready for the questions and answer period. I do want to let you folks know that, excuse me, that the Chamber's website has a, excuse me, has a wealth of information and some updated as recent as yesterday on the topic that we're going to talk about here today. But I'm going to refer you folks to that site as well. There's a lot of good information on that. Do want to acknowledge the fact that Roger Lindsay from Encore is on this call. And Roger, congratulations to you and the Encore crew for the great work they did under very trying circumstances, getting the power back on in so many areas of the community. We know that several on this call still are waiting, but we also understand that when nature intervenes, we have to be patient. But thank goodness for Encore and the great work those folks are doing out there. We could not have a more timely call this morning, and we will promote this call a little bit later, but we want to let you folks know that we were notified yesterday that the applications for the second round of stimulus programs are available. And so having Dianne Amerine from who is the director of the SBDC from Angelina College on this call this morning couldn't be more timely. If you folks should have received this morning from Kelly a notification and an application for those of you interested. My understanding is that the first wave of this will be oriented toward new applications for those that did not previously participate in the loan program. But we do anticipate in the next couple of days that the second round applications will be available for those, many on this call that have already received a PPP loan in the past. We have several of our banking friends on the phone this morning, and maybe they can help us as well as we go through the process. So having said all of that, it's my pleasure to introduce Dianne Amerine, who is the director of the Small Business Development Center at Angelina College. For those of you who haven't had an opportunity to work with this wonderful organization, since I've been here, we've participated on several seminars together and programs together, and they have helped countless Nacogdoches businesses navigate the application process for PPP and kept us aware of what's going on in terms of Washington. And we couldn't have a better resource or better people than Dianne and the staff available to us here to help us. And she's going to help explain what the package contains. So with that in mind, good morning, Dianne. It's great to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Wayne. I just want to start off by saying we're going to have a little overview about the new stimulus package, but also I wanted to let you know that we have some services, some extra services that we don't normally have. We got some CARES funding, so we do have some independent contractors to help with application process and other things related to COVID. So I just want to inform you of that, and so that you're aware of that. You know, everybody's familiar with how chaotic it was the first time with the first rollout, and so hopefully we're better prepared for that, and to assist with the application process, and then to assist with your needs, other financial advising needs and marketing needs that have resulted from the pandemic. So let's just get started right quick with the overview of the Economic Aid to Hard-Hit Small Businesses, Nonprofits, and Venues Act. This is a part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021 and was signed into law on December 27th. This act provides designated funding to small businesses impacted by COVID-19 that kind of got overlooked in the other round. So that's one thing we want to emphasize here. So let's just talk about the key components of the act. It's the second draw on the Paycheck Protection Program loan. It is targeting COVID-19 economic injury disaster loans advances. And there's also a piece of it related to SBA guaranteed debt relief. That's of importance. The targeted programs are for the hardest hit businesses and disadvantaged businesses. And today and tomorrow have basically been designated for those businesses. No other applications are being taken at this time, but by the end of the week, should be taking all sorts of applications. And then we'll talk about some of the tax treatment associated with PPP forgiveness and the debt relief payment. So first, let's just talk about the second draw for the PPP. They'll be differentiated by saying PPP 2 for the second draw, and the other one will, of course, be PPP 1. Who are the eligible businesses? They must have experienced at least one quarter in 2020 with revenues less than 20% below the corresponding quarter of 2019. The applications are out and are available on the Chamber website, and we were discussing with someone earlier how similar they look to the previous application, but I think the emphasis this time is more on the qualifying, who are the eligible businesses. So experienced at least a drop in 25% of revenues with corresponding quarter of 2019, no more than 300 employees, must have or will use the full amount of the initial PPP loan. Same business types as qualified for the initial PPP loans, and had to be in business on February 15th of 2020. The loans have a limit of $2 million and $10 million if combined with the PPP 1, based on, so here's some of the determiners, 2.5 times the average monthly 2019 payroll, that's the same as PPP 1, or 3.5 times if you're a business with a NAC code beginning in 72. So that's like for restaurants and hotels and those industries. So what are some of the changes with PPP 2? Well, additional eligible expenses. So those are going to include operations expenditures like for software, cloud computing, HR, and accounting expenses. Property damage cost. Probably not a lot of people will be affected by this, but those are repair expenses due to public disturbances not covered by your insurance. Supplier cost. This is sort of a gray area. Supplier costs essential to your business, and I would interpret that to be your cost of goods sold. So that's a pretty wide range and an important consideration. Worker protection expenditures, costs incurred for, the acrylic shields, for your personal protection, for testing, anything related to protect your workers for COVID-19. And then another important one is the employer provided group insurance can be included with payroll cost. And that's a major cost, so that's good. You can request an increase in the PPP 1 loan if SBA updated the regulations that allowed for it, like the owner's draw. I don't think that was considered in the first one, and now it is. Previously, I think it had just been line 31 of Schedule C, but owner's draw is now included. So seasonal employers, I don't know that we have a lot of them in our area, but that is a topic of interest, and we can talk about that privately if we have someone who is impacted by that. So how do you determine eligibility? Main question. You have to be in business by February 15th, 2020 with less than 300 employees. Okay, if you were in business for the entire year of 2019, you must show one quarter in 2020 where the revenues were at least 25% less than the same quarter of 2019. But what happens if you were not in business in quarter 1 and 2, but were for 3 and 4? So you must show one quarter in 2020, can be any quarter, one quarter in 2020 where your revenues were at least 25% less than quarters 3 or 4 in 2019. If you were not in business in quarter 1, quarter 2, or quarter 3, but you were in business in quarter 4 of 2019, you must show that one quarter in 2020 revenues were less than 25% than for quarter 4 in 2019. And if you were not in business in 2019, but you were in business February 15th of 2020, you must show one quarter in 2020 where revenues were at least 25% than they were in the first quarter of 2020. So we have lots of qualifiers there. So that's for PPP. Then we have the targeted COVID-19 EIDL advance changes. So emergency EIDL grants were extended through December 31st. Of course, that time has passed, but we know that. But that allows for the repeal of the EIDL advance deduction from forgiveness, so they can make those loans whole. You can get the full amount. The targeted advances for eligible entities are, it grosses up the difference between what was granted earlier and the $10,000. You know, we remember back that earlier it was $1,000 per employee up to 10 employees. It provides a $10,000 grant to those who did not get grants because the funding had run out. Another important thing. To qualify for the full $10,000 EIDL grant, a business must be located in a low-income community, have suffered an economic loss greater than 30%, and employ no more than 300 people. So it's different from the PPP. In addition, the businesses must qualify as an eligible entity as defined in the CARES Act. So what is that? A small business, cooperative, ESOP, tribal concern with fewer than 300 employees. An individual who operates as a sole proprietor with or without employees, or as an independent contractor, or a private nonprofit or small governmental cooperative, agricultural cooperative. The business must have been in operation January 31st, 2020, and the business must be directly affected by COVID-19. Economic loss, what does that mean? With respect to the covered entity, it's the amount by which the gross receipts of the covered entity declined during an 8-week period between March 2nd, 2020 and December 31st, 2021, relative to a comparable 8-week immediately preceding March 2nd, 2020, or during 2019. Or B, if the covered entity is a seasonal business concern. And a lot of that is determined by the administrator. And here's an important thing amounting to a lot of money for some of our businesses that have SBA guaranteed loan debt. So there's some relief for that. It pays an additional 3 months of principal and interest on existing 7A, 504, or microloans. It begins February 2021, and it's capped at $9,000 a month. After 3 months, businesses with selected NAC codes will receive an additional 5 months of P&I payments capped at $9,000 a month. So I'll just give out these designated codes, and they'll be available for later, but you'll recognize if your business is one of them. 61, 71, 72, 213, 315, 448, 451, 481, 485, 511, 512, 515, 531, or 812. Okay, and then it pays 6 months of P&I for any new SBA guaranteed loans approved before September 30th, 2021. So that's incentive for new SBA. Plus 3 months after the first 6 months of payments, plus 5 months if you're in one of those qualifying NAC codes. Improvements have been made to the 7A loan program to increase SBA guaranteed level to 90% and to reduce or eliminate some of the fees. And then we come to one of our special categories, which is grants for shuttered venue operators. There's $15 billion for SBA grants to theatrical producers and talent representatives, operators of live venues, live performing arts organizations, museums, independent motion picture theaters. They must demonstrate a 25% reduction in revenue and can be up to $10 million with a potential supplement of 50%. $2 billion is set aside for those with less than 50 employees. Timing of the grants. The initial 14-day grants will be exclusively made with those who have 90% or greater loss of revenue. The second 14 days, the grants will be for those with 70% or greater loss of revenue. And after those 2 rounds, all other qualifying entities will receive awards. But the caveat here to note is if you receive a grant, you cannot participate in PPP2. So that'll be something people that would qualify for the shuttered venue will need to take into consideration. $15 billion seems like a lot of money, but we all know from going through this before, these funds, they go quickly. So there's a focus on the disadvantaged businesses. $15 billion is set aside for community development financial institutions, CDFIs, and for minority depository institutions, MDIs. The programs targeted at special business segments are childcare providers, transportation providers, can be even like Uber, and rental assistance. And then another category we want to talk about is resolution of tax issues. There's been a lot of talk about what's taxable and what's not. Expenses paid by PPP funds can be claimed as business expenses. Resolves the IRS and Treasury guidance that would constitute double dipping, and they can't be used as business expenses. Makes the language retroactive as if it were included in the original CARES Act. So expenses paid by PPP funds can be claimed as business expenses. Debt relief payment of P&I will not be treated as income. It reverses recent guidance that required lenders to issue a 1099 form to borrowers benefiting from this program. So it makes the language retroactive as if it were part of the original CARES Act. So that brings us to what do we need to do now? Because applications are online and funding has started, and the funds will probably go quickly. So it's important to pull together your financial information and be ready when the banks open their portals. And the information needed is practically identical to PPP1. And there, of course, will be continual updates as they come into place. So what are your next steps? Well, review your options of how and when do you qualify. And we are certainly available, Angelina College SBDC, to help you. So you can call our number, 936-633-5400, to speak with a business advisor. During this time, the advisors are available on phone, email, or video conference, but certainly willing and able to help you fill out those applications. And cannot urge enough how important it is to be ready for that. Your business advisor will answer the specific questions that you have and assist you with navigating this whole application process. So thank you for letting me talk today, and I'm happy to answer questions if you have some, and look forward to being of assistance.
Thank you, Dianne, for that thorough overview. And again, I want to call your attention to an email that we sent out a little earlier today with the application contained on it. I do want to just add too that I noticed there are several nonprofits, I believe, on this call. One of the new elements of this are 501c6 nonprofit organizations are eligible to participate in the PPP program on this second round. That might be something that folks might want to consider as they move forward. Questions for Dianne, please?
Dianne, this is Donna from Channel 9 News. I'm just curious, based on the reaction that you got about the first funding package, what are you anticipating for the second funding package? And will there be many repeat customers? Or also, just, you did a great job, but boy, it sounds so confusing. Do you think that scares away any future applicants?
Well, I am hopeful that it will not be as chaotic as it was before, because it was quite chaotic. You know, everything was pulled together very quickly and really put a big burden on the banks, put a big burden on everyone, because we didn't have time to adequately prepare. I think most people who have applied before have anticipated and looked forward to a second opportunity, just kind of waiting to see what the changes and adaptations were going to be and what the qualifiers were going to be. So really happy to get a chance to speak today. You know, part of me wishes we could have spoken earlier, but it really doesn't help very much when you don't know where you're going. Everybody just knows it's coming, it's coming. But hopefully we'll be able, the SBDC will be able to take some of that burden off of the banks this time, and it'll be a lot easier because people have been through the process once, so they kind of know what to do. I do expect that there will be lots of new people, because one of the criticisms before, you know, the banks, of course, made loans to bigger customers, and it's really just good business in a way. I mean, it takes as much work to produce a service, a big deal, as it does a small one. Plus, that also had more impact perhaps on the community based on what that business was. But this time, you know, I think it's going to give people a chance who missed out before to take advantage of it. Plus, help people who are wanting to start a business with those advantages of SBA financing for the 504 and 7A. So, and the microloans. But to answer your question, I am very hopeful that it will not be as chaotic this time. It will be a little more organized, and that the word gets out so that, you know, we can help people apply. The fear factor is always there. You know, most people don't speak governmentese, and when you get on any kind of website, you know, it's always, what do they mean? I don't understand, and it'll just be a term that's foreign to the average business owner. And so, yeah, I think the fear factor is a lot, and we hope to dispel some of that. And I think a lot of times when people are afraid, if they just make a phone call and are able to talk to a live person to maybe help articulate even what some of their questions are. Sometimes fear just bottlenecks, and people are like, well, I don't understand this.
Yeah, that's included. They're saying there's an additional fund available. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I think we missed something. I see we have a couple of bankers on the call. I'm just curious, do any of you want to comment on the bank's preparation for the next one? I see Frances raising her hand. Frances, good morning.
Good morning, Wayne. I would love to comment. Dianne, first off, thank you for recognizing the issues, because it has been very cumbersome working through the first and second round. And I think a lot of banks have purchased some software or enlisted some outsourcing to help with this next group, as has Austin Bank. So I'm with Austin Bank. And the overwhelming part truly for us, y'all, is that people aren't applying for the forgiveness. You know, we send them the links and it's just not getting done. So we're having to call, we're having to follow up, we're having to send another link and another link because the link only lasts for 10 days. So it's really frustrating. And I'll be honest, we were gonna say until you get the first one forgiven, we're not gonna allow another loan, but we really can't do that. We've realized just recently that that's really not an option. So if you're out in the community, or if you are a borrower of that first or second group, I would just encourage you to get the forgiveness applications done. I know that some of the CPAs that are doing that for their clients are now taking care of that for them. You know, they had to get through the tax season, obviously, and now before the next round or tax season hits, they're trying to focus on those forgiveness apps. And then Dianne, I do have one question for you that we haven't been able to get through SBA to ask, but we have a couple of clients just in Nacogdoches that have expanded their business in 2020. So their revenue is going to go up because of that expansion. But if they were looking at, if they excluded the addition of two of these are franchises, so they were able to purchase additional franchises. However, it's all umbrellaed under one company. So is there a way for them to still qualify because of that growth?
Well, I will have to dig further into that and get back with you on that, Francis.
Great.
The obvious simple question is no, they can't, because they don't meet that.
Yeah.
But then if you look further and see if they are limiting that strictly to revenue, or I have a feeling they're not going to qualify, but
Yeah, we thought so too, but I just wanted clarification. If you can help me get that, that'd be great.
I will. I'll check on that.
And Francis, if there's a role the chamber or any of our other partners can play here in getting the word out to those folks that have not applied for forgiveness, let us know, and we'll be glad to do some general mailings or broadcasts to our constituents.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anybody else in the finance community like to chime in? Or anybody else? Any other questions of Dianne?
Hi,
Well,
everyone.
Dianne,
This is Juan.
Juan, good morning from Bancorp South.
Good morning. Good morning. Just want to really mention that Dianne and Francis are right on. You know, customers and bankers, both groups, have been thrown into the processing of PPP applications, and bankers, for the most part, will do their best, and it really results in a joint effort. I think there needs to be a lot of communication back and forth between bankers and customers, a lot of patience. SBA has rolled out these programs with little guidance on banks, but the good thing is that I sense that all bankers are genuinely caring for customers and want to help and see the value in putting the funds into our customers' hands.
Right.
Well, that's great, Juan. And again, we'll try to get the messaging out on this issue. You know, there was some question in a previous call when we had the young lady from the Texas Restaurant Association on the phone about the tax liability that folks had for the previous PPP loans, the ones allocated. It's my understanding is that they have resolved that issue and that there will be no tax liability on that issue. That was resolved when they finalized the stimulus package. So that's good news for all businesses on here that are looking forward to April 15th and filing taxes. Well, Dianne, I want to thank you very much for your participation on the call today. And again, I'm going to encourage everybody to use SBDC and other stakeholders on this call as resources, including our banking friends. They've got a wealth of information, and as Juan and Francis said, they stand ready to assist you folks in navigating these application processes and these forgiveness processes.
Thank you,
With
Wayne.
that, we'll move on with the agenda. It's my pleasure to welcome our city manager for the city of Nacogdoches. I suspect he's a very busy guy right now. I talked to Steve Bartlett yesterday, and it sounded like he hasn't slept in a couple of days. Good morning, Mario.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's staying somewhat warm. It has been an interesting last day and a half, 2 days now since Sunday with all the snow. What I have to report is the city was closed yesterday. We are doing a delayed start at 11 today. A lot of it has to do with just some of the outlying roads. Even though the sun's out, it's just now starting to get above freezing. But one of the issues that we're having, and I'm sure many of you are experiencing that, is just a lack of power. We've had a number of power outages in the area. I've heard as many as 5,000 as of yesterday. I don't know what the current status is of this morning, but I know there's still several going on, and Encore is working feverishly trying to get that restored for everyone, obviously for everyone. So working towards that. I understand the roads are better. We've been working very closely with SFA, the county, the school district to make sure that we're working towards a unified front as far as a response to the winter storm. These are rare occasions here in East Texas, so I know it's very unusual for this to occur. But just so you know, that we're working with the other agencies too to make sure that we're putting our public and our employees out of harm's way. Other than that, it's been storm, and then we'll hopefully get back to business as usual later today, if not for sure tomorrow, and get ready for the remainder of the week and next week. That's all I have, Wayne, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions of the city manager? Well, again, thank you for all you and your crew are doing right now to keep Nacogdoches safe and open. We really appreciated it.
One more thing I didn't mention, Wayne, is, and I should have mentioned this, is because of the poor street conditions, if you are living in Nacogdoches or have a business in Nacogdoches, more than likely your trash was not picked up yesterday. That's a big thing in city government. So everything's been delayed today. So what would have been the Monday schedule is now going to be on Tuesday. And so our crews are working very hard to make sure they can get to everyone. So please be patient. A lot of fallen limbs, bad streets. And so we're just behind, but we'll get to you. Don't worry. The trash is coming to be picked up. So it's on its way.
What about the tree?
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Mario. We wish you continued success in dealing with the challenges. So, I don't see Larissa on the call this morning, so we'll move on. I'm pleased to welcome this morning from the Office of the Governor, Betty Rousseau, the Regional Representative for Governor Greg Abbott. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. As Mario said, I hope you're staying warm because it's a little bit chilly out there. Crazy. Just a couple things. Just wanted to update you on the new business interest in Texas. It's pretty phenomenal what we've been seeing. There are 233 active projects in Texas right now. There are 21 active requests for information since January 1st. That means 21 businesses have shown an interest and they want their information sent out to the economic development folks to try to get information. And there are 82 new projects that have come in since fiscal year 2021 started. So we're at least seeing that through all of this. That's very positive and very good, and it says a lot about what Texas can offer businesses and how they're seeing that. One or two announcements. Governor Abbott and the Texas Military Preparedness Commission released a video resource for active duty military and their spouses to increase awareness of the services offered by the state to military members and families who are about to transfer or have transferred into the state. If you're interested in more information on that, let me know and I can send that to Kelly. One more thing, the Governor Abbott announced that the Texas Health and Human Services Commission will provide approximately $204 million in emergency supplemental nutrition assistance program food benefits for the month of January as the state continues its response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're going to have a couple webinars coming up soon, and next week I will give you the information on those. I don't have details yet, but I will get that to you next week, and I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Any questions of Betty? First of all, I do want to let you know that Senator Nichols and Representative Clardy are, I believe, being sworn in today in Austin, and as they begin to wrestle with that, they announced that $1 billion shortfall that they anticipate in the budget this year due to declining revenues. So we certainly will be keeping an eye on what's going on in Austin and how it will impact Nacogdoches and Nacogdoches County. And there are several of us on the phone here today that are engaged to make sure that we get our fair share and that our institutions are appropriately funded. So I do want to let you know in the hospitality area that the Chamber and others participated in a ribbon cutting on Friday. They had 60 of their, I guess, over 100 new employees on hand. If you haven't seen that ribbon cutting, I respectfully suggest you go to the Chamber's website and view that ribbon cutting. It was truly a wild winnings, wild affair. It was a lot of fun. The food there is extraordinary. I went by last night on the way out, leaving the office about 5:15 last night, and the parking lot was absolutely packed. And it went over into pool real estate, and just let's hope that that business continues to thrive here as we hope all businesses thrive in Nacogdoches. I see on the phone we have Les Linebarger this morning. Good morning, Les. How's the NISD doing?
Good morning, Wayne. Well, NISD is doing fine, and I'm sure there's a few thousand school children enjoying a unplanned second day off after the snowstorm on Sunday. And please don't laugh at me for calling it a snowstorm, Wayne. But we're on our second bad weather day related to the snow. And you may be wondering when those days will be made up. We have 2 bad weather days built into the calendar. One is on Friday, March the 5th, and that's the Friday before spring break starts. And the second is on Good Friday on April 2nd. Now, for Texas public schools, attendance for students is based on minutes attended in the classroom for the academic year. 75,600 are required. But like most school districts, NISD builds additional minutes of instruction time into the calendar as a safety cushion. So for the time being, it's quite unlikely we will have to hold classes on Good Friday, barring any more inclement weather between now and then. And the district's math experts will have to calculate all this to see precisely where we stand. And for any of those wondering why we didn't shift to virtual learning for these days off, that's something we were prepared to do last week as we got ready to move into the weekend. But then we discovered if we had elected to do that, we would have been required to provide meals for any student that wanted one, leaving us in a situation where student nutrition staff would have been traveling to work in potentially dangerous conditions. So we decided to go with the complete day off. And then finally, Wayne, on Monday, yesterday, the Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees held a special meeting. They adopted a resolution during this meeting that will extend emergency paid sick leave to employees of the district that miss work because of a COVID-19 infection or quarantine related to close exposure to someone with the virus. Now, this is really an extension of something the feds had provided last year and that program expired on December 31st. And our district, our trustees really wanted to step in and take action to protect our own staff who are being back on campus, being in the classroom with students. And that action they took yesterday is retroactive to Monday, January 4th last week, when district employees returned to work after the 2-week holiday break. Wayne, that's all I've got.
Well, thank you, Les. We'll look forward to seeing those buses back navigating Nacogdoches here tomorrow and in the near future. So
absolutely.
I'm pleased to welcome this morning Jessica Sowell from the Main Street and the City of Nacogdoches Communications to kind of give us a snapshot of what's going on in the world of COVID in Nacogdoches.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everybody can see me. We lost power, of course, like everybody else. And then when it clicked back on, some of my light fixtures don't work anymore. So we're partially in the dark at my house for some reason. But anyway, so we are still kind of plugging along with this whole COVID thing. Not a lot has changed in the last week. We are still above that 15% hospitalization rate. I checked in this morning, our hospital district is about 22% for our COVID hospitalizations, which means our businesses still need to be at 50%, businesses, restaurants, things like that. We do have that same packet of information we sent out in mid-December that covers, what businesses need to be doing, social distancing paperwork, wear your mask, flyers, things like that. So we have that if you would like it, that the city can send to you. We still have our COVID information line is up and operating, the 468-4787. We've been getting a ton of calls about vaccines. A few people have called us wanting to be put on the list to ask where they get it. So we're trying to handle those calls the best we can. But it's been a pretty big number. Once the state released who was getting vaccines and then where they were going, people were frantic for them, which we understand. And so we're doing our best to just kind of send people where they should be going. The county and the city and SFA have been working together to figure out where we can support our providers, because of course the state sends vaccines to specific providers that have signed up to be COVID-19 vaccine providers. So we're doing our best that when people like Berkshire Brothers had 400 vaccines, couldn't get them out quick enough, we offered a location at the County Expo Center to get those shots into arms. So while it wasn't a big public thing that we could invite people to drive through, it was a way for the city and the county to help get vaccines out as fast as possible. So we're going to continue to do that. If there's another provider that needs manpower, needs space, needs coordination that the city and the county can help with, we're going to continue to provide that. So that's kind of where we are. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have, and we'll continue to get that information out through press releases, our Facebook pages. Our city website has a COVID-19 section that has all of this information there. So I'm happy to answer questions, and we'll continue to get this information out as fast as we can.
Thank you, Jessica. Jessica, I can tell you from the phone calls we're fielding here at the chamber, it's clear that the 1A group that is eligible for the vaccines initially are being addressed. It appears, and especially calls from folks that are senior citizens here, it appears to be less clear about getting on lists and getting in line for the 1B group, which are those above 65 or with pre-existing conditions that would qualify them for. Are we getting any closer to having a list available that one list that everybody can call, or?
Not yet, and the process is frustrating, and so we've had a lot of frustration coming from people, which I completely understand. The best way to get the vaccine, because 1A and 1B are eligible right now, is really to be registered with your doctor or your pharmacy, because a lot of these places like Berkshire's, when they got their 400 vaccines, they checked to make sure healthcare workers had them, and then they moved on to their already registered patients that they knew of that were 65 or older or had these conditions, and started calling them themselves. So that's still the best way to do it. DSHS is coming up with vaccine hubs where they will provide a large number of vaccines to a certain area. to then give out, like, if you could give it to an expo center and they could give it out through the county. Nacogdoches is not listed as one of those simply because we are so small. It makes more sense from the state to give those vaccines to, Harris County that has 1 million people. And that goes a lot farther than it would in Nacogdoches. So really the best way still is to be registered with your pharmacy, with your doctor, ask your doctor if they've signed up to be a provider, because the state doesn't determine who's a provider. It kind of comes from the doctor or the pharmacy initiating that paperwork. So there is still confusion, but really the people that are eligible are still 1A and 1B. And what we're struggling with is that there is a lot more people that need and want the vaccine than number of vaccines we have. For example, we talked to East Texas Community Health the other day, and they got 100 vaccines, and they had over 600 people that would qualify just in the registered patients. So it's just that we are getting these vaccines out as fast as possible. We just don't have as many as we would like. And I know the city and the county leadership are still talking with the state about, how can we get more? How can we facilitate this? And we are ready and willing if we get more.
And I appreciate that. It's just I'm concerned that some of the folks, especially the seniors, just don't have the patience for this. There's a sense of urgency. I suspect in the calls we're all getting, and we hope when we get the call, where should we direct them today?
Really today and going forward, you can send them over to our COVID call line because they have all the same information. And we can give them the information and the same things I'm kind of telling y'all. So it doesn't necessarily fix the process, but we do have that central call line where we can give them all the information we have. And that's the 936-468-4787 number.
That's great. Well, thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. I apologize for having so many questions, but
oh no, that's perfectly fine. I'm happy to answer them.
We appreciate everything you guys are doing. I did notice I didn't anticipate seeing Nancy Wyndham on the call this morning because I knew she had a competing meeting. Nancy, anything to add this morning from the Texas Forest Country Partnership? Your phone's on mute, Nancy. Nancy, your phone is on mute.
Sorry.
I think we've lost Nancy. Nancy, I think we've lost your signal. I apologize. Well, having said that, folks, we will loop back with Nancy later. I do apologize, but apparently we've lost her signal. If there's nothing else to add, I want to first of all just take a moment and thank Dianne for her presentation this morning. I really appreciate that very much. And want to let you know that the Eggs and Issues program coming up in a couple of weeks, I believe on the 28th of January, will feature George Kellerman, who's the president and CEO of the Texas Retailers Association. That ought to be an interesting interesting presentation, and hopefully we'll have a real good turnout for that Eggs and Issues. I do want to let you folks know that the Chamber, wherever possible, is going to virtual programming, including Eggs and Issues this month. We're going to forego the typical Fredonia breakfast format out of an abundance of caution for our constituents and our members, and go virtual. So hopefully you'll join us online. Nancy, were we able to get you back online? Apparently not. Well, with that, folks, I'm going to conclude the phone call. Thank everybody for tuning in this morning, and thank all of our contributors here. And we'll look forward to talking to you a week from today at 10 a.m. Thank you very much.